Hey, Matt Morris at mattmorris.com. Thanks for tuning in. Today, I'm going to give you the anatomy of a success story or the anatomy of a testimony. Personally, I like to say success story. I just think that, when you're doing a presentation, let's say you're doing a home meeting, maybe you're doing a hotel presentation, you're doing a presentation at a restaurant with a lot of people, something like that. Even if you're doing a testimony over the phone, a three-way call, something like that. I prefer to say, I'm going to introduce you to some people to have you tell their success story because testimonials, I think it almost makes people think of infomercials. And one thing that I believe is true and something that I'll talk about here in the anatomy here is people love to buy, but they don't like being sold. So people like to think it was their decision, not that you were, ramming a product or ramming an opportunity down someone's throat. And so whenever I'm doing a presentation, for instance, on Thursday night, we'll do a big event. We'll have about 10 to 15 people come up and share their success story about our product, about our business, and so forth. And this is the format that we follow. Now, one of the things that's very, very important, in fact, it's critical, is that when someone comes up to give their success story, they're not junior presenter. Okay, that's our joke. When someone gets up and they try and sell the crowd, they get into selling mode. That's being a junior presenter. They're trying to take the job of the presenter. See, there's two roles in doing an effective presentation. You've got the speaker, who is the salesperson, and they have the right to be the salesperson because that's what people expect, and they have the time to share their story, build rapport, and then sell, to give the presentation. Yes? Now, the people who come up for a success story is if everyone is coming up and selling, you should do it because of this, and, giving points about the product or the opportunity or the business. This is a multi-billion-dollar opportunity, whatever it is, then people become skeptical. They feel like everyone is being a cheesy salesperson. And so you want to be, it's almost like the anti-salesperson. And the anatomy of this, at no point in the success story are you selling. At no point are you telling people they should do it because of this. You're not talking about the benefits of the product, the benefits of the opportunity, the benefits of the service. No, you're giving your own authentic story. Now, the way we do it, we do 30 to 45 seconds. Some, other companies and organizations, they'll go up to, 90 seconds. I've never heard about it being more than about 90 seconds. It should be very quick. If I'm not the presenter and I get up to give my success story is about 45 seconds. It's quick because my job is not to get up there and sell. I know how to sell, but if I get up there and sell, it's going to cause people not to want to buy, not to want to join, because I'm just a cheesy salesperson. I'm not really being authentic. So when you're giving a testimony, make sure you're being very authentic. Now, a quick note, I should have said this in the beginning. This is something that if you're smart, you're going to send this to your entire organization. If you're ever doing a meeting and you're having people that you've asked to give their success story, to give their testimony, have them watch this video. Let this be a training tool for them, and have them watch it and let me be the bad guy. Because what I do is this. If someone gets up at one of my presentations and they start selling, I'm going to correct them afterwards, and I'm going to tell them that they need to improve. Now, if they sell again, if I have them bring them up again, they're never ever going to do another one. Just, it's like, two strikes or one strike and you're out. So 2 strikes and you're out. So here's how it works. You're giving up, you're sharing your authentic story. And so here's the breakdown. So number 1 is when you get up, you're going to share your name, okay? I don't need to talk more about that. You give your name. Number 2 is your background, okay? So this is what you do for a living or what you did for a living before you went full-time in your opportunity. And so this is where the reason why, I'm going to give you the psychology behind why the anatomy works so well, is when you give your background, it's all about relatability. So if you are, let's say you have a guest who's looking at, the product, and they are a teacher. If someone gets up and they're a teacher, then that's someone they relate to, okay? And people buy from those they know, like, and trust. And so if someone gets up and says they're a teacher, they naturally feel like they know them a little bit. They naturally like them a little bit. They're going to trust them a little bit more because they're relatable. Okay. And, if you're a teacher or someone in the audience is a teacher and someone comes up and they're a coach, then they can be relatable. If someone's in construction, that's going to relate to blue collar workers. If someone's an executive, they're in corporate America, that's going to relate to other executives. If someone's a doctor, that'll relate to a chiropractor. If someone's a nurse, that may relate to a doctor, or someone in the medical profession. So the background is all about relatability. Make sure that you and anyone you have do a success story, they're always sharing their background, okay? So next is why, okay? Why you decided to buy the product, why you decided to use the service, why you decided to maybe take part in the opportunity. This is, if there's any point where there's any selling that comes across, it's here, but what you're doing is you're sharing your why. You're being very authentic. See, when you open up and you're authentic, you give other people the permission to open up and be authentic as well. And so, you might share the fact that, one of my stories is when I owned a network marketing company, I was in the office all the time and I was missing my little girl growing up. I'd go to work and many days she'd already be asleep. I'd come home and many days she'd be asleep. And so I was missing her growing up. I was watching my daughter growing up horizontally, not vertically. Okay? So I'm sharing that. I'm being open, and that may hit someone else in the heart, and they may say, you know what, man, that's a good reason to do it. But if you notice, I'm not saying this is why you should do it. I'm saying this is why I did it. If there's something about the product, there's some, phytonutrient in the product, or there's something about the product that you think is totally amazing, and that's why you decided to buy it, at that point, you can share that. I wanted to buy this because I've looked at every other product in the marketplace, and man, it's the most amazing thing I've ever seen because of this one thing, and so that's why I did it. Right? So you're sharing your why, not the reason why they should do it. At no point do you ever do that. You get into cheesy salesperson. Now, four is optional. You don't always have to do this, but it can be very powerful. Limiting belief. Okay? You can share your limiting belief. So if maybe you were skeptical when you heard about the product, you can talk about that. When I saw, let's say it's weight loss, I was skeptical because, I've tried so many other things and nothing ever worked. And so I thought this was going to be just like everything else. And then you share your, what actually happened. And so you can share your limiting belief. from a business standpoint, it's a great way to overcome objections. So if you get up and you say, you know what, when I saw this, I thought it was great, but I didn't think I had the time to do it because, I'm already working 2 jobs. I've already got 3 children. I've gotten so busy. I didn't think I had the time, but I realized if I didn't make the time, I'd never have the time. And then you get into number 5. So you can share your limiting belief. In many cases, that's going to overcome other people's objection. I didn't have the money when I saw this, but I knew, if I didn't do something about it, I'd never have the money. And so again, that can overcome some other people's limiting beliefs. It can be very powerful when you share yours. And then number 5 is your tangible results. Okay, and I am going to underline, I'm going to circle. One of the biggest mistakes that people make in giving their success story is they don't give anything tangible. They get up and they go through, they may nail the first 4, but then when they get to 5 and, since I've joined, it's changed my life. Changing your life, there's nothing specific about that. There's nothing tangible about that. So you can say it changed your life, but you have to give specifics. And again, leaders lead. So if you're ever doing a presentation and people are not giving a tangible result, you have to correct them. You have to let them know, hey, you did an awesome job, but you need to add something tangible. See, when it comes to the business side, giving things like, I went out and I shared this product with 5 other people. They love the product so much, they started sharing it with others. Now I have an organization of over 150 customers that I'm earning an override on. So that's an example example of specifically, you referred this many, it turned into this many because of the value of the product. That's an example of something very tangible. Now, one thing that I would highly advise against, don't go out giving income claims. Don't be telling people, you know, I got in and I made $5,000 my first month, or I made whatever the number is. Just leave the money aside. There's a compensation plan and people can get that there's an opportunity there, but we never want to be misleading. We never want to give income claims. Chances are it'll get you in trouble with your company. You're a representative for your company. You never want to get your company in trouble with the Federal Trade Commission or any government regulatory bodies, and so let's leave income out of it. This is something that I think our profession, we've really turned into much more of a trusted and credible profession than we've ever been. Let's continue with that. And so this is the anatomy of a success story. Again, share this whenever you're doing a presentation. Feel free to share this video with them, and I believe it will help you enroll more people and sell more products, whatever your product or service is. So thanks for tuning in. If you feel like this can give some value to some others, you can share it around as well. I would love to hear your comments below. Let me know if this added value for you. If you're not already at mattmorris.com, hop over there, put your name and email address in. I'm gonna send you my 5-day free video training on how to go from amateur to professional in network marketing. You will absolutely love it. Thanks for tuning in again. Go make life an adventure.